Getting shredded couldn't be easier. And yes, I'm saying that while looking like this.
In 5 simple steps, I'm going to show you how I'm going to go from a little bit tubby to ripped in just 6 weeks. Now, whether you're looking to shave off just a little bit of fat or become completely unrecognizable, these 5 steps will make transforming your body easier than you ever imagined. This video will be a little longer than usual, but I want to give you as much value as I possibly can to not only change your life now, but forever going forward. So here are the 5 key fundamentals you need to stick to make this transformation, explained from start to finish. And if you want to see how easy it is and follow my personal journey over the next 6 weeks, I'm uploading every couple of days and updating you exactly what I'm doing, how I'm training, and how I'm eating, and all days in their life, then make sure to follow or subscribe. Number 1 is nutrition. In order to get in the best shape of your life, you do not need to live on rabbit food. In fact, what if I told you that you could get in the best shape of your life and make an amazing transformation by eating McDonald's, pizza, chocolate, or whatever your go-to treats may be? Now, to put it simply, your body is an energy system. This is energy in versus energy out. What this means is how much you eat overall is going to matter a lot more than what you actually eat when it comes to losing fat. So let's take yourself for example. You need to eat a certain amount of food to maintain your current body weight. Now here on screen is an example of how you may be able to work this out. This is always going to slightly differ depending on your base metabolic rate, dependent on your hormone levels, and also on your general activity. But here is a really good guideline. So this brings us to the question of what actually creates fat loss in the first place. And the very, very simple answer is a calorie deficit. This means consuming less calories than your body requires to maintain your current body weight. People package up a million different ideas, whether this is keto, fasting, or any other method of dieting. However, ultimately every single one of them gets the same result, which is just a calorie deficit. So how much of a calorie deficit should you be in? Let's say you weigh 85 kilograms or 185 pounds. Let's say you're a moderately active individual. You walk 10 to 12,000 steps on average per day. Your maintenance calories are going to be somewhere in the region of 27 to 2,800. There are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. So if your goal was 1 pound of fat loss per week, you would need to deduct 500 calories off of that figure every single day. So if your maintenance was 2.7, you'd want to eat 2,200. That would give you a 500 calorie deficit, and it would make fat loss very, very simple at a rate of around a pound a week. The scale may move slightly more than that. It's going to depend on water weight, your activity levels, etc. But the goal is 1 pound of solely fat loss per week through your diet. You can increase this calorie deficit level. However, if you increase this calorie deficit, you're going to risk losing muscle mass. Your energy levels are going to be a lot lower. It's going to be harder to hit your particular macros, which we'll go through in a second. And all round, it's going to be a worse experience. The whole point is in 6 months' time, you want to be thanking yourself, not next week. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So we've established calorie level, and that is the most important factor in terms of losing weight or losing fat. However, how should the macros be split? So the whole point in this process is we're looking to build muscle and lose fat simultaneously, really, really simply. So we're going to put ourselves in a calorie deficit to start with. So that's crossed off and that's done. So now the point I touched upon on macros. What are macros? Your macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. Now, how important are they, and how much of them should you be eating? Now, obviously the one that is idolized online, especially when it comes to muscle growth and building muscle, is protein. Protein is essential. Protein is the fundamentals to building muscle. Also, eating a higher protein diet will help keep you fuller for longer, or feeling fuller for longer, which means it will be a lot easier to maintain a calorie deficit. Everyone online always says 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's actually slightly lower than this. You need to hit a minimum of 0.82 grams based on the studies that I've read to maintain your current muscle mass without losing it while you lose fat. So for example, for myself, I currently weigh 75 to 76 kilos. I'm eating around 140 grams of protein per day as an absolute minimum standard. Going above this is not going to negatively affect anything. You just got to make sure you're hitting this number, and that is sufficient, to be honest. You haven't got to go above and beyond. As long as you're hitting that minimum figure of 0.82 grams per pound of body weight, you're golden. Now, carbs and fats, you should not neglect either one of them. Now, your fats, if you go too low in your fats, it's going to affect your hormone levels. Also, if your fats are too low, your cravings are going to increase. So I would always keep fats to around 30% of my calories. For me, it's around about 70 grams a day. Carbs are going to fill the rest of them. Now, a lot of people are no carbs before marbs. Oh, I'm going to lose fat, I'm going to cut out carbs. Carbs are your most efficient source of energy to the body. There's going to be no detrimental effects to having a higher carb diet. So just keep everything else pretty balanced, to be honest. I don't really track my carbs and fats to a T. They're roughly about right. My protein needs to be at a certain level of 0.82 grams per pound of body weight. My fats are always at around about 30% of my diet, sometimes 25, sometimes 35, and carbs will always fill the rest with an all-round, well-balanced diet. Now back to the very first point I made in this video, which is how much you eat compared to what you eat. Now, as we've established and as I've briefly explained, how much you eat and hitting your macros, your protein level at least, is going to come first. However, what you eat, how does that affect things? Will it make you lose fat? Will it make you lose muscle? So when it comes to what you eat is not going to affect whether you lose fat or not. For example, if you ate 4,000 calories of salad every day and I ate 1,000 calories of Oreos every day, I'd lose weight, you would gain it. However, if your diet is always Oreos or foods that aren't necessarily healthy or clean, your skin's going to get bad, your energy levels are going to be completely depleted, your sleep is going to suffer, and all round you're going to feel trash. So eating a clean diet, you will never feel better, of course. If you're eating, foods with really high minerals and vitamins and then micronutrients that are really fulfilling your body and satisfying your body, then yes, you're going to feel better. However, there's also no need to completely cut out all negative foods as such or fatty foods as such, because if you completely go so if your diet now is quite full of them processed or snacky foods, and you go to zero, you're never going to maintain it. The whole point is you need to have something you can maintain for a long period of time to get to where you want to be. So what I would always suggest is 80% of your diet always coming from decent nutrition. So I'm talking like lean meats, or to be fair, even red meats, obviously depending on your diet preferences, some veggies, potatoes, some rice, just solid, clean foods. Now, I'd recommend 20% of your diet, or no more than 20% anyway. You don't have to hit 20 as such. But for example, I eat 2,100 calories. So around 400 calories I'm going to have a day maximum of snacks and crap. The rest of it is going to be a clean eating diet. So for 20% though, I'm going to be able to have some chocolate or some dessert in the evening that's going to satisfy me. My fats will be slightly higher, I'll be more satisfied, I won't be craving them foods because they're still in my diet, all while I'm losing weight or losing fat and still managing to build muscle.
Number 2 is general day-to-day activity. The goal is 10 to 15,000 steps a day. This way we can burn an additional few hundred calories without the fatigue or recovery time needed for intense cardio sessions. Also, we can eat a little more and still maintain a healthy calorie deficit.
Number 3 is lifting or training. Now, back in the day when I was slightly younger and a little bit more naive and inexperienced when it comes to fitness, I was spending literally 12 hours a week in the gym, which is just ridiculous compared to the 3 hours, or less than 3 hours I now spend. So why was I in the gym for 12 hours? Well, in the morning, I would go for 1 hour and I would lift weights. In the evening, I'd go for 1 hour and do cardio, because I thought that's what it took in order to get in shape, and I was willing to do whatever it takes. Now, I was in good shape from this. Obviously, if you're moving more, you're training, and you're following some sort of half-decent nutrition, you're going to look better. However, I could never ever sustain it for more than like 6 to 7 weeks. Now I've adapted my training style, I've adapted my complete way of thinking, educated myself on fitness, and I spend less than 3 hours in the gym. I also spent less than 3 hours in the gym to make a transformation like this. My clients have also spent less than 3 hours in the gym to make this transformation. So why 3 hours? Well, the whole point is I break it up into 3 sessions. Now I stick to very key lifts. I'm not switching and chopping the routine every single week I go, or to be honest, I'm not even switching it up every month or two. All I do is stick to my very key core lifts that are mainly consisting of compound movements and making sure I'm performing them with the correct form and getting stronger. When you lift weights and go in the gym, as I touched upon in point number 2 when it came to general activity, when you're doing intense exercise, your muscles need recovery time, but your central nervous system that people overlook also needs recovery time, normally about 48 hours. So what I will do is I will go in the gym for 45 to 60 minutes. I'll stick to my key lifts for certain areas of my body, and I will perform them the best form to the best of my ability and push myself to the point of failure, giving my body a reason to adapt. Now, once I've completely exhausted myself, taken that muscle to complete failure, the signal is to adapt and to grow. Now I let that growth happen. For the next 48 hours, I don't do much apart from a little bit of walking. So all I will do is completely rest. 2 days later, I'll focus on a different part of the body, different muscle groups, hit my key lifts then. Again, repeating the same thing for 45 to 60 minutes, taking myself to complete failure. Now, taking yourself to failure is what is key. You're going to send a signal for growth. Now, supported by optimal rest, a high protein diet, and everything else you're doing, your muscles are going to grow, even when in a calorie deficit. And because of the deficit, you're going to lose fat. It really does become effortless at this level. As long as you are going 3 times a week and you're not bitching out and you are really pushing yourself, you will get the body of your dreams. Also, by only going 3 days a week, that whole point of training to failure, which is what you need to grow, is going to become easy. Because when you're going every day, you begrudge it, you don't want to go, it feels like a chore, it feels like a second job at some point and you're going too much. When you're going for less than 3 hours per week, you want to give it your all. I can't wait to go to the gym. I'm excited for the gym. I like going to the gym. So go there, I know for 1 hour or less than that, I'm going to give it everything I possibly have, go to absolute failure, and then 2 days later, after I'm recovered, I'm rested, I'm psyched, and I'm ready to go again. So what are my key lifts? Now, in order to get everything, you're going to need to join the program, which breaks down everything for you, hours and hours of video footage, and you're going to see a breakdown of the form on every single movement. But essentially, the main lifts are an incline press for your chest, weighted dips for your chest, pull-ups and chin-ups for your back and your biceps, and there's also going to be a very quad biased type of squat, where that could be a leg press, a squat, it could be a split squat. You're really going to focus on your quad zone and focus on that depth. Number 4 is going to be water intake and hydration. Now, I know this sounds very simple. I know everyone in the world knows that you should drink water in order to be healthier. But do you know the ins and outs as to why? Now, your water weight can fluctuate massively. Depending on what metric you're tracking, your water weight could change 6 or 7 pounds or 3 to 4 kilos per day. Now, in order to hold less water weight, you need to drink more water, which sounds very counterintuitive. Basically, in simple terms, your body is just a flushing machine. When you drink a lot, obviously you go to the toilet a lot, or a lot more often anyway. Your body just turns into a flushing machine where it's flushing everything through. When you drink less water or you're not hydrated enough, your body clings to that water, again, as just a survival mechanism, as a survival machine that your body is, in order to make sure you are as hydrated as possible. So how much water should you be drinking? I promise you'll see a massive, massive difference on the scale just from water alone. Now, I would suggest taking your body weight in kilograms and timesing it by 45. That's going to give you roughly the milliliters of water you should be drinking. And it may sound high to begin with, but that's what your body needs in this process. So for me, for example, I'm drinking between 3 and 4 litres of water per day. All I'll do is I'll either get a metal bottle, a 1 litre bottle, and I'll fill it up 3 to 4 times through a day. I know I have to finish 3 to 4 bottles, or I'll just buy big 2 litre bottles, and my goal is to finish 1.5 to 2 of them every single day. It actually becomes really easy when it's constantly in front of you. If you're just drinking glasses like this, it does become more difficult. 1, you lose track, and 2, it feels like you're always filling the tap up. Now the scale will move a lot because of water and because of your water intake. For example, in your very first week, if you're putting yourself in a slight calorie deficit and you're drinking suddenly 3 or 4 litres of water every day, depending on your body weight, then your scale will probably move. It could move anywhere from 2 to 4 kilos in the first week. You're not just losing 2 to 4 kilos of fat. Mainly you're losing water, and you've probably lost a pound, pound and a half, max 2 pounds of fat. But in order to hold less water weight, you look less fluffy, and in order to flush through and your weight to decrease quite a lot, hydration is so essential. Also when you're lifting, especially when you're lifting heavy weights, as we would be in this training schedule, you want to ensure you're hydrated. When you're not hydrated, your muscles are going to cramp and you'll be way more at risk of injury. And number 5 is rest and recovery. This may also sound extremely simple, but as I said before, when you're lifting heavy weights and pushing yourself to failure, you need to recover. For your muscles, your central nervous system, you need to prioritize rest, especially if you're a natural lifter. Too many people are following all these enhanced lifters online who they recover so much faster than you with the performance enhancers that they're on. So just make sure you're getting optimal rest. Everyone says 8 hours a day. I know it's not always realistic, but just prioritize your sleep, value your sleep, and you will also just feel so much better in yourself day to day. Your lifts will go up quicker, you'll feel more energetic, you'll feel healthier. If you follow literally 80% of everything I've said today in regards to holding a slight calorie deficit, eating 80% of your diet fairly clean, if you start lifting 3 days a week, which is like bare minimum, if you start walking an hour to an hour and a half a day, we're breaking it up into like 2 or 3 20 to 30 minute walks, and you start prioritizing sleep and staying hydrated, you will look like a different person in 6 months. So just follow the real basics. This is literally all it takes to make these crazy transformations. If you want a complete breakdown of everything, make sure you're performing all your movements right. You want the science behind all of this. You want the key lists and more. You want all this stuff. I have the best programs ever on the internet releasing. They have taken me years to construct. There is so many hours of video footage, and I've been going to the gym for, I don't even know, 12, 13 years potentially. And it is everything I've possibly learned through reading studies and following certain people and all the time and effort I put into it in one place across about 40 pages. Anyway, I'm going to document every single step of the way while I make the same transformation as I have done before, following these really simple principles. So follow along and let me show you just how easy it can be.